432 days, the Summer Olympics will kick off in Los Angeles on July 14, 2028. LA Mayor Karen Bass was in Paris Sunday to participate in the closing ceremonies for the 2024 Summer Olympics. During the ceremonies, Bass was on stage inside Stade de France Stadium to accept the Olympic flag from Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo Alou. The U.S. national anthem was played 40 times during the Olympics, a ritual in honor of 40 gold medals won by American teams and athletes. The U.S. and China tied with 40 gold medals, but the U.S. led all nations in total medals with 126. The final medal won by the U.S. was the women's basketball team, which defeated France Sunday for the gold. 8 straight gold medals for the U.S. Olympic women's basketball program and 61 consecutive Olympic wins. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us for a book party celebrating The Covenant with Black America 20 years later. Almost 2 decades ago, the Covenant book, compiled and edited by Tavis Smiley, climbed to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list and stayed there for weeks. The first book by a black-owned publisher to achieve such a feat. The urgency of the issues that matter most to black fellow citizens has only intensified, especially in this critical election year. On Wednesday evening, August 14th, 6 to 9 p.m., come meet Tavis Smiley alongside Covenant contributors including Cornel West, Connie Rice, Mark Ridley Thomas, Elisa Orduna, Tyrone Howard, and Melina Abdullah as they sign copies of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later. You can purchase your books on site and get them autographed. That's Wednesday evening, August 14th, 6 to 9 p.m. in the city of Los Angeles. Admission is free, but you must register at KBLA1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.com. That's thetavismiley.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first, it's black cowboy culture. We'll start the hour in conversation with photojournalist Ivan McClellan about his new photo book, 8 Seconds, Black Rodeo Culture, and we'll talk about the historic role of black cowboys and cowgirls in the Wild Wild West with Ivan McClellan. On the B side of hour 2, you'll meet the woman revitalizing the world's only touring black rodeo, the CEO and producer of the Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo, Valeria Howard Cunningham. So we're going to the Wild Wild West. Well, I'm in the Wild Wild West, sitting here in L.A. We'll talk about black rodeo culture today in our second hour. You'll be impressed, I'm certain, by the CEO of Bill Pickett. She's quite an amazing system. In our third hour, 2 more conversations. Up first, filmmaker Stephen Ulaki on his new documentary about the Christian rights shift toward fascism. It's called Bad Faith: An Unholy War on Democracy. On the B side of hour 3, we'll be joined by CNN political analyst Van Jones and get his take on the upcoming Trump-Harris debates, what Van expects at the DNC in Chicago, where we'll be broadcasting live, and his recent comments about Kamala Harris catering to anti-Semites in the Democratic Party who did not want to see her select Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro as her running mate. As you recall, some days ago when Van made those comments, I strongly, vehemently disagree with my brother, Van, and his assessment. So Van and I will get into it, I promise you, today in the final hour of this show, lovingly and respectfully, but we're going to get at it today in the last hour, Van and yours truly. All that said, we commenced today's show talking politics with longtime political strategist Joe Trippi. Joe has worked for Democrats at every level over 4 decades now. Ted Kennedy, Walter Mondale, Howard Dean, Jerry Brown, Doug Jones, on and on the list goes. Joe has also served as an honorary analyst for most of the major networks. Say nothing of his own weekly podcast, That Trippi Show. Gotta love that name, right? That Trippi Show. I suspect we'll also talk about his work at the Lincoln Project. But let's get this conversation started. Joe Trippi, it's been too long, sir. How are you today?
Oh, it's been way too long. It's good to be with you.
It's good to have you on the program, and thank you for your time. Let me just jump right in, make the most of this hour that we have. There's a whole lot to cover. I'm looking now at the cover of Time Magazine. A photo,
yes.
No surprise here, of Kamala Harris, not a photo, an illustration of Kamala Harris with two very simple words, her moment. Gorgeous illustration of Kamala with, again, just those two words, her moment. And there are a lot of folk talking about this cover. And when you read the article, and I've been running through it to get ready to come on the air today, but when you read the article and you juxtapose the words with the photo, her sort of gazing up into the heavens, I mean, the treatment they give her reminds me of that comment that David Axelrod made a couple weeks ago that I've talked about a number of times, where he refers to all of this excitement around Kamala as an irrational exuberance. That's Axelrod. I thought about that when I saw this cover, not because I necessarily agree with Axelrod per se, but because there's a lot being put on this moment, a lot being put on her. And I've been around long enough, not quite as long as you, but you and I both been around long enough to have seen moments where the media, the mainstream media, the Beltway for that matter, has a way of putting so much on a particular moment that one of two things happens. One, the person couldn't possibly live up to all that hype to begin with. Or number two, it sets us in a frame where we're covering the horse race and not talking about the issues. We're talking about personalities, but not really the politics. I digress for now. Your thoughts?
You know, Tavis, I look at this thing and I think what's happened is, first of all, I don't agree with Axelrod. I think it's exuberance, but it's exuberance. It's an energy that's been missing since for the 8 years since Donald Trump came down that escalator, where he was able to dominate the popular discussion, whether it's in the media, whether it was people disagreeing or agreeing with him. Everything was about him and agreeing or disagreeing with him, and he dominated it. And I think what's happened is Kamala Harris is dominating that popular conversation. And it's not irrational. It's all of us. It didn't just happen to her. It happened to everybody. In other words, this is a bottom-up kind of exuberance that's very rational in my view. Both a relief that we have a real choice, that there's a real alternative that people can be excited about. That's not to push past Joe Biden, but I think when he passed the torch to Kamala Harris, he did pass the torch to the future, and that's excited a lot of people out there. And that energy is coming from the bottom up. Now, what we do with that, I agree with you. It sets up a big expectation. But on the other hand, I don't know how Trump gets that back. I think she's got it. We got to carry her the rest of the way.
We'll talk when we come forward in this hour about how Trump gets it back, assuming that Trump can get it back. I've said many times on this program that at the beginning I was concerned that the window might have been the runway might be too short for Kamala to get real liftoff. The runway might be too short. It appears now that the runway might just be short enough for Donald Trump to not reboot, he's so flat-footed. He was expecting to run against an old white guy, and he has not yet figured out how to run against Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And so the runway might just be short enough that he can't reboot and she can get just enough liftoff. Let me just read very quickly from Time Magazine, and this gives you some sense of why I asked that first question of Joe Trippi. This is Time Magazine in their commentary with the accompanying photo on the cover of Time Magazine. Illustration. I keep saying photo. It's not a photo. It's an illustration. Harris has pulled off the swiftest vibe shift in modern political history. A contest that revolved around the cognitive decline of a geriatric president has been transformed. Joe Biden is out, Harris is in, and a second Donald Trump presidency no longer seems inevitable. Where has this Kamala Harris been all along? For years, Democratic officials questioned her political chops, pundits mocked her word salads, and her polling suggested limited appeal. Her performance in the 2020 presidential primary was wooden, and her turn as Biden's number 2 did little to inspire confidence. Judging from the past few weeks, Harris's own party underestimated her. Maybe the crowded 2020 primary just wasn't the right race for Harris to showcase her talents. Maybe the vice presidency wasn't the right role. Suddenly, she seems matched to the moment. We'll talk about whether she is matched for the moment with Joe Trippi when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening.
Charitable listening.
It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Oh, man. Looks like Bobby needs a ride to the airport again.
Grab the keys.
Who's taking Auntie and her friends to the swap meet?
Grab the keys.
How about we drop these boxes off at Miss Johnson?
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, you're all about getting things done. So do it all in a Chevy SUV. From the versatile Equinox and Sporty Blazer to the roomy Traverse, our lineup of SUVs will carry you through every adventure. All you have to do is...
grab the keys?
That's how we do. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse Limited models. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Less monologue,
more dialogue.
Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed, with our guest in this first hour, a long-time progressive political strategist, Joe Trippi, who I'm honored to have on this program. Lots of news to cover in this first hour today. So you heard me read a moment ago, Joe, some of the commentary that accompanies this cover on Time Magazine out now with a pretty amazing illustration of Kamala Harris, and she's looking upward, looking skyward. The media knows how to give the right treatment when they want to make when they want to make a statement. I'm not suggesting at all they're making the wrong statement. I'm just suggesting, I've been around long enough to know that the media has a way, as this audience has heard me say many, many times. I always caution folks to get their conjunction right. The media doesn't build you up and tear you down. The media builds you up to tear you down, and they're getting clicks going and coming. And so I'm weary of these moments when I see the media putting so much on something, particularly when the media starts asking questions like I raised a moment ago, as if they weren't a part of writing the narrative. So when you read this Time Magazine commentary, as you heard me say a moment ago, and I'm quoting from them, where has this Kamala Harris been all along? They write, for years, Democratic officials questioned her political chops. Pundits mocked her word salads, and her polling suggested limited appeal. Her performance in the 2020 presidential primary was wooden, and her turn as Biden's number 2 did little to inspire confidence. Hold up, wait a minute. Democratic officials question? No, the media, the mainstream media, the same ones who are putting her on the cover of Time Magazine looking toward the sky as if she's some sort of messianic figure. Where has this Kamala Harris been all along? No, where were y'all all along when y'all, the media, were writing these stories saying that she wasn't up to par, she wasn't ready for prime time, she was stumbling as vice president, all of her staff was quitting on her every other week? The media, the mainstream media wrote these stories, and now, don't act like Democratic officials are to blame for this. Don't be asking me where this Kamala was all along. Y'all were the ones, again, advancing this narrative. Let me stop for a second, Joe. But this kind of stuff, on the one hand, humors me. On the other hand, it angers me because the mainstream media does this crap all the time.
Well, it's like, look, we didn't see her. She had probably the best debate moment in the Democratic primary when she did take on Joe Biden. Whether you agreed with her or not, she did it. That was a moment. Joe Biden beat the entire field. It was, including Mayor Pete and a whole bunch of other very talented that we're all bragging about today that are out there, the next generation of Democrats. And first of all, having been in a lot of presidential campaigns, some going all the way to the nomination, but you learn it's a process that you fail at. Most of them do. You have 250, I think, people have run for president in the last 20 years, and on both parties, and only 5, 6 of them have won. But it's the learning of coming back from that. What mistakes you made? How do you grow? She's grown, and then on top of that, she was good then, but she's grown. And then on top of that, the vice presidency itself. I mean, she's prepared. She's been there. She had some tough assignments. She's done a lot of good, and I think the press picked on And by the way, the opposition, right? They're going to do border. It didn't matter what she did, or it's just that's the way that they're going to come at her, and the media played into that. But now, I do think she's the right person for this moment. Mm-hmm. That however this came about. Who she is, what she personifies, and is the future of this country, and Trump personifies now the old dated past in its worst forms, the racism, all the anti-women stuff, all the stuff that they're about right now, and she's the personification of the future, and I think that's why he can't. Well, I know we're going to talk about this later, but I think it's why she's so strong right now. By the way, I think that entire contrast makes her, I think, in a way stronger. Mm-hmm. Than she really is. I don't mean that. I mean she's stronger, but I mean like it gives her some oomph. Sure. That's where that energy and excitement comes from. Yeah. That I think is going to, getting all these hundreds of thousands of volunteers, the millions and millions of dollars that people, not big donors only, but a lot of people sending $10, $15 in. That's something Trump used to be able to do. It's not happening.
Yeah, I am no political savant. I don't try to come off as one. I have no particular deep insights. But to the extent that folk tune into this program across the country every day, I assume they tune in to, as I often say, they're willing to have their assumptions re-examined. They're willing to expand their inventory of ideas and see the world through a different prism, and that's all I'm trying to get at. Just trying to seek the truth and speak the truth. And when I see these things, I try to call them out. But it makes me irate at times. I've been at this so long. When I see the media, the mainstream, do the bait and switch all the time, the bait and switch. And I'm not suggesting that Kamala is not the right person either at this moment. I'm not suggesting she's not deserving of all the attention, all the accolade, and all the fun. That is not my point. My point is to keep your eye on the media and the way they play this game. They are the ones who wrote this narrative about Kamala Harris all these years, that she wasn't all that. That was their narrative. She's not all that. And now they want to flip the frame and ask us where she's been all along. No. Why did y'all underestimate her all this time? That wasn't us. That was the mainstream media, and I get sick of that crap. The same thing is true of Democrats, and I've had my say about this. Democrats allowed Joe Biden to become the nominee for a second term. They allowed that. Nobody primaried this guy when they could have. They didn't. Nobody stopped him when they should have. They didn't. He talked about being a transition president. Y'all didn't hold him to it. And then all of a sudden you figure out he's old and you bum rush the stage and you knock the guy off. I tell people Joe Biden didn't stand down. Joe Biden got pushed down. And the old man is on the ground, feeble, trying to get up. And then you run on stage and thank him for his service and declare he's the greatest president since FDR. Stop it. Stop it. Y'all are the same ones who could have stopped this earlier. You turned a bad debate into a nightmare. I ain't mad at Kamala having a moment, but I'm talking about the hypocrisy of those Democrats that allowed this to happen and then wanted to chin check Joe Biden. I don't like that, and I see the duplicity in it, and I just trying to point that out for others to see as well. That said, that's my commentary, not Joe Trippy's. I move now to Joe Trippy's commentary. Let's talk about Trump, because it appears to me, and I don't think you feel differently, Joe, given what you've said already, that however one defines it, Donald Trump has been knocked off his square. He is flat-footed. He is disoriented, and far be it for me to give Donald Trump advice on how to run against Kamala Harris. That ain't my role, and that is not my interest. But it is worth dissecting how a guy who just a few weeks ago, was it Maggie Haberman? I think it was yesterday in the New York Times. I saw a piece. I read so much stuff. I think it was Maggie Haberman yesterday in the Times, I believe, who wrote a piece. I'm pretty sure it was Maggie, about what's happening inside the Trump world. And they say that Trump is very upset. He's on a short fuse these days. He's not happy. And part of that is his frustration, Maggie writes, about not understanding or not figuring out as yet how to handle Kamala. I mean, we saw the poll the other day. I think it was a Siena poll, one of those polls that came out, that she's now ahead, leading him in 3 battleground states, where he was killing Joe Biden in all the battleground states, essentially. So she's having a moment, as Time Magazine's coverage suggests, no question about it. But what do you make of the fact that Trump, again, any way you put it, flat-footed, disoriented, can't figure out where he is? What do you make of that? Because this guy thought he was headed to victory in November, and everything has changed.
Oh, yeah. No, they were euphoric. They were talking about 370 electoral vote victory, coming out of their convention, in which he got no bump, before any of this happened.
Right.
I just think you're looking at Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. Harris is up by 4 in each of those states, as you pointed out. Biden was behind or dead even in 1 or 2 of them, but behind in most. So the other thing, though, is so he can't like that. He clearly is gone nuts about the crowd size thing. Mm-hmm. She's just getting all, whether the moment or not, you can't. Those people are actually showing up. They're not AI generated, which is what now Trump has resorted to claiming, that she's somehow phonied up with graphics, the crowd, using AI, which is insane. But that just shows you how flat-footed, how out of it he is. And I think it is that crowd size stuff that he used to be out there bragging about his, and he can't, because he's not even out there getting crowds. That's got to totally flip how he thinks, which, don't try to get into Donald Trump's head, But I do think he is grasping at straws, like this whole helicopter thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with Willie Brown, like this thing. What's amazing to me, I grew up in Los Angeles and worked for Tom Bradley back in the day when I was in my 20s, and I worked with Nate Holden back then, the LA City.
Sure.
It turns out he was the guy that was in the helicopter with Trump, not Willie Brown, not Jerry Brown. I knew that wasn't true because I worked with Jerry Brown. Willie said it wasn't true. Nate says, hey, Willie's the short black guy living in San Francisco.
I'm the tall black guy.
The tall black guy
living in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Guess we must all look the same, he says. And I remember I saw that. I go, damn it, Nate Holden has not lost his punch, man.
Yeah.
He just hasn't. But all that's that kind of ridicule and laughing at laughing at Trump used to be something Trump was able to generate every 15 minutes against somebody he gave a nickname to or something. It's now happening. It's all flipped on him. He's now the bunt of the joke and the ridicule. And I think it's really impacting him in a way. And combine that with the exuberance, the joy, whatever you want to call it, surrounding Kamala Harris. It's like, that looking up in the Time magazine thing, it's like that ray of light for the future versus this old, dark, angry, resentful, revengeful thing that Trump and J.D. Vance are representing now.
Give Time magazine credit. They know how to do a cover when they wanted to give you that look of the future and gazing toward the heavens and you are the future. When they want to give you that look as a black woman, they can do that. If they want to darken your color, as they did with OJ, and make you look more sinister, they can do that too. I'm telling you, I know I'm on one today. I'm just calling them out, y'all. I'm trying to call them out as I see them. This is the same Time magazine that darkened OJ's photo to make him look more sinister, say nothing of the case. I'm just talking about the magazine, what the mainstream media does when they want to present a particular image of a person. They didn't have this image of Kamala all this time, and now they want to act like they run out front and act like they leading the parade as if we were wrong and they were not. I digress. I'm sick of that. So here's the flip side. I've only got a minute and a half here. We can get started, Joe, and continue when we come forward. But the flip side of Donald Trump trying to get his footing, trying to get back on his square, trying to move beyond being so disoriented by the person and the team he was not expecting to run against. The flip side of that is the danger, and I mean that now, lovingly but seriously, the danger in Kamala running as if she is winning. There's an upside to that, and there's a downside to that. This race is still headed to November. You got weeks in front of you, and there's always something I like about running slightly behind, slightly as the underdog, as you gain your momentum. But if you got momentum right now, and you're still weeks out, many weeks out, can you keep that momentum? Are you peaking too soon, as we say in the game? Are you peaking too soon? So Trump is now running from behind, as it were, but Kamala is running as if she's winning. And that cuts both ways. There's an upside to that, and there's a danger in that. Joe Trippy's been doing this for a long time. He knows exactly what I mean. We'll talk about that part when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward?
Because he's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, Minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A Ferguson, Missouri African-American police officer was critically injured outside of the city's police station during protest on the 10th anniversary of the fatal shooting of the African-American Michael Brown, a pivotal moment in the national Black Lives Matter movement. Ferguson police say Officer Tavis Brown suffered a brain injury after being knocked to the ground. 2 protesters are in custody, facing multiple charges in the case. We take you over to Uganda now, where torrential rains in recent weeks has caused a chunk of garbage at a landfill to break off, crushing and burying homes. The Kampala Capital City Authority says 13 are dead. More than a dozen have been rescued thus far. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your home for 24/7 news, the Black Information Network at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
During their back-to-school event, learn how Dell Technologies is helping underserved communities around the world. Make a difference with Dell and shop AI-ready PCs powered by Snapdragon X Series processors at Dell.com/deals.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The countdown has started for LA 28. In 1,432 days, the Summer Olympics will kick off in Los Angeles on July 14, 2028. LA Mayor Karen Bass was in Paris Sunday to participate in the closing ceremonies for the 2024 Summer Olympics. During the ceremonies, Bass was on stage inside Stade de France Stadium to accept the Olympic flag from Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo Alou. The U.S. national anthem was played 40 times during the Olympics, a ritual in honor of 40 gold medals won by American teams and athletes. The U.S. and China tied with 40 gold medals, but the U.S. led all nations in total medals with 126. The final medal won by the U.S. was the women's basketball team, which defeated France Sunday for the gold. 8 straight gold medals for the U.S. Olympic women's basketball program and 61 consecutive Olympic wins. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Linking social justice and climate justice all year long.
We're unapologetically progressive.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
I occasionally have nerve discomfort in my hands, so the things I love to do...
Let's play something, Grandma.
...became difficult as I got older.
If you have occasional stabbing and burning in your hands and feet, try Nervive Nerve Relief. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use. Say yes to healthy nerves with Nervive Nerve Relief. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Ooh, I'm so ready for this weekend away with my girls.
Hey, hit the road. How about some free gas?
Free gas? How?
Try new Febreze car for some serious freshness, and you can win gas for a full year. Visit Febreze.com to learn more.
Say less.
You may not win, but you're gonna have a fresh-smelling whip.
Thanks, DJ Fresh. Now how about some music?
Hey, yo, this next one goes out to new Febreze car for giving you a chance to win free gas.
La, 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 la.
No purchase necessary. Must be 18 to enter in 73124 for rules and how to enter. Visit Febreze.com.
Welcome to Chicago.
A new chapter in black political history will soon be written in Chicago at the Democratic National Convention. KBLA Talk 1580 will be the only talk station in LA with 5 shows broadcasting live from the DNC in Chicago, August 19th through the 23rd. Dominic DePrima, Nicolai Corte, Ariva Martin, Adrian Shropshire, and Tavis Smiley will all be in Chicago bringing the convention to you like no other talk station in Southern California for the critical issues and conversations that matter most to you. Keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got Kamala covered. More honesty than you can handle.
More empowerment than you can imagine.
You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Joe Trippi, longtime progressive political strategists, work with everybody from Ted Kennedy to Walter Mondale to Jerry Brown. On and on and on, the list could go if I had the time. I had forgotten about the fact that Joe Trippi and I had this in common. We both, of course, work for Tom Bradley. I got my start here in Los Angeles, working for the late, great mayor of this city, the first African-American to helm the city of L.A., Tom Bradley. And forgotten that Joe Trippi, when he was a young guy, worked for Tom Bradley as well. So we have that in common, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Let me jump right into our conversation, continue what we were talking about a moment ago.
Sure.
So to the extent that, on the one hand, Donald Trump, Joe, is flat-footed and disoriented and can't really figure out how to effectively campaign against Kamala Harris, this black woman, versus the old white dude that he had already figured out how to beat. So he's off his square, no question about it. But the flip side of that is that Kamala at the moment is campaigning as if she's winning. And I could read that a couple different ways. You've run campaigns. You know what it means to peak, what it means to peak at the right time. I'm not suggesting, again, my role here is to ask questions. I'm not suggesting she cannot sustain this between now and November, but I always feel a little comfortable running neck and neck and then finding your momentum just at the right time, like a good sprinter, like the ones we saw in the Olympics, and then you burst at the end and you win. It's hard to be out front the entire time, and one, not get winded, but number two, not have somebody try to gain on you. I digress. Your thoughts about her running and campaigning as if she is winning?
Well, I think you're right, Tavis. One, you're always better off running as if you're slightly behind, and maybe even running as if you're way behind. I mean, you know, really putting everything into it. You know, doing all the work on the ground, et cetera. But on the other hand, the one thing I know from running presidential campaigns is it often doesn't work for you. You don't get to decide when you get momentum. Something happens and you get momentum.
Point well taken. Point well taken. You take it when you can get it. You take it when you can get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just got to keep swinging, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's like you got bases loaded. You're not going to you got to keep going. So, to use a different metaphor. So I'm just saying, like, I think, look, she's got the wind at her back right now. I agree with you. They'll try to take some of that out, including the press will do things to take the wind out of those sails. But with this wind at her back going into the convention, she's got a higher favorable, and so does Walz, by the way, a net positive to Biden and J.D. Vance's net negative. So they come out of that convention with even a bigger, burst of momentum. Then the question is, yes, can they sustain it? I think it's not a question of sustaining it so much as can they harness it. In other words, all these volunteers, all this enthusiasm, all these people out on the street, you know, working excited, all, you know, which wasn't there with Biden, you know, regardless of what, whether they ran him out or not, it wasn't there, right. You know, whether it was the right thing to do. It's there. Can they harness that? Can they use a lot of that base organization that was out there, other organizations, you know, across the country and the Biden campaign were building, Stacey Abrams in Georgia, for instance. I mean, all that was there. It's now energized. There's momentum. There's wind at the back. Can she harness that? Can she get people to carry her the rest of the way? Because, yes, there are going to be events here. Look at how crazy this year's been already.
Yeah.
To think in the next 82 days, 3 or 4 major earthquake kind of events aren't going to happen. They could be a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. There could be, but they could be things that will turn it back upside down, and that's what you have to be ready for. You've got to be able to harness what you got now, but take the momentum when you get it.
There's no question. There could be a permanent ceasefire, but it also could implode, as you well know. It cuts both ways, and you are right about that. Again, this ain't your first rodeo. Any number of things will happen between now and November that will impact the way people see their choices. On that, I can guarantee you. I can guarantee you 3 or 4 things are going to happen that will cause folk to rethink how they vote. And we know not what those things are at this moment. Let me ask you right quick, watching my time here. I opined earlier that at one point I thought that Kamala might be troubled, might be put upon, might be challenged by the short runway that she had. It takes some good runway to take flight. To your point, and frankly, to the cover of Time magazine, she's taking flight. As a matter of fact, she's soaring. That's the question: whether or not she's soaring a little too high, a little too soon, a little too close to the sun. If I can go to my Greek mythology, is she flying a little too close to the sun right now? Is the question. But she clearly is taking. She's used her short runway she had, and she's taken flight. The question is whether or not you think that short time frame between now and November now works to her advantage or her disadvantage.
Oh, I think no doubt about it works to her advantage. I mean, people know one of the advantages Biden had, right, was who his opponent was, Donald Trump. Everybody, look, a majority of this country does not want Donald Trump to be president.
Right.
Period. They don't. It's like 53% of independents say they don't want to vote for him for president.
Right.
Well, with the double haters back then, okay, but I got to, vote for Biden. You had that. That's gone. I mean, she's totally, just in terms of who she is, who she personifies the future, that's gone. And I think that's where it gets tough for me to see. Yes, I understand that, you still got to run like crazy for 82 days and keep the momentum up. But I think she can harness it because I think she's what people want. And I don't see how Trump gets it back. I mean, getting to your point, I'm not sure how I see Trump being able. I mean, the only way he knows to get it back is to be even angrier, even worse, even more, ugly, and I don't think that's going to do it.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. There are 2 ways that I think Trump can get some momentum back. Let me put those out there for you to just pick apart in a second here. But let me just say a final word about the question I asked Joe a moment ago about whether or not he thinks the short campaign season works to Kamala's advantage or disadvantage. Everybody thought up front. Everybody did. Again, Time magazine and other media want to flip the script as if they were right all along. No. When it was announced that Joe Biden was passing the baton, the torch to Kamala Harris, pick your metaphor, the concern was that it was such a short window. And would she have the time on that short runway to take flight? She's answered that question, and the answer is resounding. She proved people wrong in that regard. My only takeaway from this is this, Joe. This underscores what I've been complaining about for decades now. I'm not a Johnny-come-lately to this. Our campaign season for president in this country is far too long. Other countries do it in a matter of a couple of months, in a matter of weeks. What Kamala is proving to me is that you can be a viable candidate for president without having to run a campaign for 3 years or 2 years. Your thoughts about that? You're the guy who's run these campaigns. I just think in America, we spend way too much money and way too much time running for the White House. But look, if Kamala pulls this off, look how short a window, how brief a time span that she was on the national stage running for president, and she wins. So don't tell me we need a 2 or 3 year campaign, Joe.
No, Tavis, you're so right about this. I worked overseas. I worked for Tony Blair and his election, prime minister there. I worked helped elect 2 prime ministers in Greece, one in Italy. Their elections are 60 days, 30 days.
Exactly.
A lot of those places. and they do just fine. You know, you can knock down, drag out, and somebody wins. And they don't do this permanent 4-year long march. No, and so I think you're right. But that also made me think when I wasn't one of those who thought, no, the time was too short. I thought, you know what, she's going to be a new face introduced in a new way. And she's going to have to pick a VP, which will be new. That after this long march that we've been going through for 3 years now, essentially with Trump and Biden, instead of having a 78-year-old versus an 81-year-old, where the 78-year-old could connect more with the popular culture. Look, when you're up against it, it's just she totally flips that. And that's why Trump can't. It was easier for him to compete on that popular conversation thing or dominate it against Biden. He can't dominate it anymore. She's dominating it. That's what I don't think he can get back.
I can tell you what's troubling him more than anything else. Just knowing, just watching the way he moves, and I would say knowing him as I know him. I don't really know him. I've been around him a few times, and we've talked over the years. But what's driving him crazy right now is all this sustained news coverage. He can't stand that. He cannot stand that she is dominating the news cycle day in and day out. Exactly. That's what's driving him insane. We'll let Joe respond to that when we come forward. And as I said a moment ago, I think there are a couple of things that Donald Trump might do. Again, far be it for me to give him advice. He don't need my help, and I ain't trying to help him anyway. But I think as I'm watching this, I think there are at least 3 issues on which the Trump campaign thinks that Kamala is vulnerable. And the reason why he's asked for these 3 debates is I think he wants to hit her on these 3 issues. What are those 3 issues? Glad you asked. Joe Trippi and I will talk about it when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on! We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Tavis is like George and Wheezy. He's moving on up. Last year, Tavis was number 45 on the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. Wait for it. Wait for it. The 2024 list was recently released, and Tavis has jumped to number 33 on the list of the nation's most important talkers, making him the highest-ranked African-American on the coveted roster. Congratulations to Tavis Smiley from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got you black.
Texting enrolls you into reoccurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Joe Trippi. Joe, let me ask you right quick again. My time's getting away from me. You mentioned, you used a phrase earlier that I love. You referred to Kamala as a happy warrior. Indeed, she is a happy warrior, beautiful smile, grinning. What we see here is that Harris is pushing joy, and that Trump continues to paint this darker picture. What do you think about these mismatched moods in this campaign?
I think they're everything.
Yeah.
I really do think that's the whole thing, and I think that's what her and her ticket mate Walz, kind of are grasping, and people are excited by that. Not necessarily the policy. That's where I think the policy stuff. Actually, remember how Trump all this time, the policy stuff didn't matter how crazy it was. It didn't matter. It had no effect on him. I think that's what's happening with her.
Yeah.
They're going to come after her. Immigration, crime, all of it.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure that dark vision that they're all coming to get you. They're sending their worst is going to get them as far as it did before. In fact, I think this is going to be. I know you're not going to like this. I know we got to run from behind, but I really think this is going to open up in the next month for sure. I just don't see how he comes back.
And by open up, you are you suggesting she's going to gain ground? She's going to gain momentum.
Yeah,
she's going to run farther away from him in the polls. Ahead of him?
I think so, and I think the reason part of that though is him. The more air comes out of that tire on him, the more flat it's going to go. I think it's more the It's not just her positive momentum as much as it is, I think, the negative momentum that's starting to really stall him out.
So at this point, you do not believe that it is his campaign to lose?
No. Oh, no. Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no.
That is, I like that, Joe. That's why I love having different perspectives. You talk to one guest on the program one day, and they tell you this race is Trump's to lose. You talk to another guest another day, like Joe Trippi. He says, heck no. As a matter of fact, you just heard Joe Trippi predict in the next 30 days, he expects the polls to get the distance, to get even more expansive. He expects Kamala to run even farther ahead of Donald Trump. And part of it, as you heard Joe say a moment ago, is just mood. Even beyond the policy issue, it's just mood. She's a happy warrior. She's spreading joy. He's still got that dark vision, that brooding demeanor. And you're going to see that face to face when they get on stage. Trump has called for 3 debates, right? So you're going to see his brooding versus her happy warrior. It reminds me, Joe, you know where I'm going here, of Nixon and Kennedy. We'll talk about that part when we come forward with Joe Trippi on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada. Member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust new Febreze car vent clips, now with 3 times greater scent control, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with new Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing, which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park,
Los Angeles, California.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I got 4 minutes here, Joe Trippi. I want to cover 2 things. One, as you were talking, I was thinking about Nixon and Kennedy. You know this story well, even for those who weren't living then. I was just a 2-year-old, but I remember studying it and seeing the footage of Nixon and his brooding demeanor up against JFK, handsome Camelot, on television. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get a brooding Donald Trump and a happy warrior Kamala, and that will, I think, make a difference, Joe.
Absolutely. I think that is the difference. And I think then you get to the issues and other things and just the ugly policy positions of Project 2025
Sure.
and what Donald Trump and J.D. Vance stand for, and the country will reject it,
So-
I think. And I think that will grow.
So this is why Joe Trippi is Joe Trippi, because I mentioned minutes ago now, that I think there are a few issues as I'm reading this that the Trump campaign is going to hit Kamala on pretty hard between now and November. This is where they think they can do some damage. And I'm laughing because I hadn't said to Joe Trippi what I thought those 3 things were, and he spouted 2 of them off because that's what he does, right? So he mentioned immigration, and he mentioned crime. The only third I want to add to that list, Joe, is economy. She has not as yet laid out an economic vision. She's going to have to do that at some point. But her economic vision, they're going to attack. They're going to hit her hard on this immigration issue that she failed on as vice president. And again, it wasn't fair, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And the crime thing. There's a guy right now, an African-American, I can't call his name. For those who have seen this, you know I'm talking about, a brother in the Bay Area who was wrongfully accused, wrongfully convicted, served 6 years in prison, has been mad at Kamala all this time for what she did, and she's refused to apologize to this guy. When she was DA, they accused this guy of killing his best friend. He said, I would never kill anybody. I didn't kill my best friend. Vice did a big story about this. I didn't kill my best friend. He kept saying this. And her office prosecuted this guy. She showed up on the day of the verdict. She shows up in the courtroom. She wanted to be there for this. This guy went to prison for 6 years. He filed an appeal. He won his appeal. They paid him millions of dollars in San Francisco, and to this day, Kamala has not apologized to this black man who was locked up wrongfully for 6 years. They're going to exploit that story. It's out there now. And they're going to exploit. They're going to hit her on crime as DA. They're going to hit her on immigration. They're going to hit her on the economy. Nobody says necessarily that's going to be successful enough for them to defeat her in November, but it ain't over yet. The cover of Time magazine notwithstanding, Joe Trippi.
Oh, no, they're coming after her with all that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they also, the reality is, they're not, and the press has been disastrous at reporting this, but crime's down drastically in the last 6 months, in this country. I mean, so as a hot button that Trump can hit on, I don't think it's going to be as big a punch as he thinks. But they're going to punch. They're going to punch hard. They're going to get her on immigration, take her up on crime. Even the economy, I'm not sure in the end whether that'll be strong. And, in terms of, I think a lot of the oomph of inflation and the anger there, some of it's still there, but isn't as strong as it was in 2022. and that red wave never came. So I think
Yeah.
they're going to go to that same playbook, but I just don't think it's going to have the same that they think it will.
Well, I'm looking at my calendar right now. It reads August the 12th. So that means somewhere around September the 12th, 15th, somewhere mid-September. For Raji, Jay-Z, my producers are listening. Somewhere around mid-September, I want Joe Trippi back on this program because I want to see if he's right in the next 30 days or so that these polls open up. Joe Trippi may very well be right.
Yeah.
And if he is, I want to have him back on to take a bow. So put on the
I'd love to be back.
Put on the calendar right now. In 30, 45 days, I want Joe Trippi back to talk about how right he was that Kamala Harris opened up on Donald Trump in this campaign for the White House. Joe Trippi, we'll talk to you in 5 or 6 weeks, my friend. Put it on your calendar.
Great. Looking forward to it, Tavis.
Thank you, my friend. All the best to you. More of Tavis, Smiley, when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A Ferguson, Missouri African-American City's police station during protest on the 10th anniversary of the fatal shooting of the African-American Michael Brown, a pivotal moment in the national Black Lives Matter movement. Ferguson Police say Officer Tavis Brown suffered a brain injury after being knocked to the ground. 2 protesters are in custody, facing multiple charges in the case. We take you over to Uganda now, where torrential rains in recent weeks has caused a chunk of garbage at a landfill to break off, crushing and burying homes. The Kampala Capital City Authority says 13 are dead. More than a dozen have been rescued thus far. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your home for 24/7 news. The Black Information Network at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The countdown has started for LA Tron Stadium to accept the Olympic flag from Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo Alou. The U.S. national anthem was played 40 times during